Well, good day, sports fans, and welcome back. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. This is really not paradise here. Let's be honest. There are some things about living here that just really get to me, and I'm going to go through them. So today you're going to get the 10 things I hate about living in Charlottesville. The first thing that I don't like is the heat and humidity. We've got a thing where we say during certain times of the year it's 90 and 90, and by that I mean it's in the 90s in terms of temperature and it's in the 90s in terms of relative humidity. Now you're going to run into this probably July, August, maybe even a little bit into September, but you're going to have at least 2 weeks, maybe as much as 4 to 6 weeks during the summer where you're just going to be suffering through that. That's where it looks great outside. Everybody wants to be outside and do stuff, but it's hot, it's humid, it's sticky. You're just going to want to stay inside where it's cool in the air conditioning. So be aware of that. Okay, I know I've said before that I've lived in some really bad areas for traffic, like New York City. Actually, I haven't lived there, but I've driven in Manhattan. That's an adventure in itself. I've lived in and driven in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Boston. I've even done a little bit of driving in London. Try driving on the wrong side of the road along with everyone else. Anyway, I'm digressing. So traffic in Charlottesville, relatively speaking, it's not that bad, but it's still, you got rush hour here. And I'll say specifically, if you get on 29, the afternoon time from like say 4:30 till 5:30, 6 o'clock, you're going to hit some stop and go as you're headed north. If you're coming in from the east of town crossing Pantops Mountain on Route 250, it's always stop and go. I don't care what time of the day it is, even on Saturdays. Now, rest of the weekend, Sundays, late Saturday afternoon, it's not going to be quite so bad. But even late evening, wintertime, when it's starting to get darker, like 5:30, that sort of thing, and you're trying to get out of town, you're trying to go home, and if you're headed east and you're going out on Pantops, and it's stop and go, and stop and go, and stop and go. They have that new interchange where 250 intersects with Interstate 64, so it's supposed to be easier to get on and off the interstate and not be so much of a backup. But I tell you, it is one place I avoid driving if I can. I do better going on the back roads. There are ways into town that might have some traffic, but nowhere near as much as you have on the major thoroughfares. So there's that. And then the other thing about traffic is you've got people who are aggressive. So the lane changers, they don't signal, they're going to cut you off. Again, this is big city stuff. I'm used to it there, not necessarily used to it here in Charlottesville, but you will see that, especially on 29. And then you've got your distracted drivers. So guess what? You're sitting behind a guy at the stoplight and it turns green and he doesn't move. And it's just like, what's going on? You start counting. 1, 2, 3. And then after about 3 or 4 seconds, I can't help myself. I tap the horn and all of a sudden you see a head come up, looks around and then takes off. And by that time, the light's yellow and it turns red on you. Now, I like to talk about the greater Charlottesville area or the Central Virginia region. If you're in the city or close to it, there for primary care, healthcare, there's lots of places you can go to, even walk-in. You could go to the hospital if you need to. We've got 2 here, good emergency rooms and all that. But as you get into the outlying counties, yes, they do have clinics, yes, they do have private doctors, but not as many as there used to be, and it seems like to get an appointment, it can take up to a couple weeks just to get in to see a doctor about a non-emergency thing. It could be the flu, it could be a hangnail, I don't know, but you can't just get an appointment on the next day. Now that's not universal, but it seems to be becoming more and more the norm. So that is just one of the beefs I have about being in this area. And again, it's because the population is so busy and health care has become such and such a big thing. It is definitely in demand, that's for sure. Item number 4, and you're going to think I'm crazy to say this, but if you like the water, it's a 3-hour drive to get to the beach. And I'm talking about the Chesapeake Bay or Virginia Beach or places like that. I guess you could get up to Washington, D.C. in 2.5 hours and be on the Potomac, but that to me is not the beach. So again, if you want to be near the ocean, don't move to Charlottesville. This one's going to sound strange coming from me, but you can't throw a rock around here without hitting an establishment that serves alcohol or makes it. I can't begin to tell you how many breweries we've got that are popping up everywhere, and their favorite thing is IPA. IPA this, IPA that, IPA your grandmother. What is this with IPA beer? I mean, there's more in the beer world than IPA, but for some reason, American breweries like to pump it out. And they're on every street corner, it seems like. So there's that. Yes, I do drink beer, full disclosure here. But I don't like IPA. So there's that. And then even before we had the breweries, oh my gosh, there were the wineries. Virginia is home to over 400 wineries now, and we definitely have our fair share in this region. So if you don't want to see that, if you don't want to smell that, stay away from it. Don't even get me started on distilleries. There are some here, but it's not as bad as the wineries and the breweries. And would somebody do something about all this IPA? All right, number 6, college sports rivalries. If you live in Charlottesville, everyone expects you to be keeping up with the UVA sports teams. I'm talking football, basketball, lacrosse, baseball, who knows what else. I mean, that sometimes you go into a meeting, that's the only topic of conversation. So if you're not keeping up with it and you're not a big fan, forget about it. We got people here, oh my gosh, the big one is UVA versus Virginia Tech. I'm tired of hearing about it. I am really tired of hearing about it. I mean, I went to a great school, but sports was not the thing, and it's just like, there's more to life than this, but hey, if you do enjoy sports, they've got Scott Stadium, they've got the John Paul Jones Arena. It is a big thing because this town is rabid about its sports. I will tell you that. Okay, item number 7, rental rates in the city especially. Things have gotten really, really high. I'm not going to give actual numbers. Let's just say I've been on this planet long enough to where I'm appalled at what it costs to rent, like say a basement apartment or a 1-bedroom. Forget about a house. I mean, we're talking well up into 4 figures here. We're not like San Francisco or DC, places like that, but things are getting more and more crowded. So, and this is related to what real estate costs too, because as that goes up, so do rents. If you want to get something reasonable for rent, you're going to have to look in some of the outlying areas. And then if you work in or near the city, you're going to be driving. That's the bottom line. So, good luck finding a place that you can rent at a reasonable rate. Along the lines of high rents and high real estate this is a problem that seems to be getting a lot of attention locally among city planners, real estate agents, anybody, advocates for affordable housing. I don't know how you define what's affordable, but I can tell you this, it's a big problem that a lot of people who work in the city, and the big thing is healthcare and the service sector, those people are not able to afford a home in the city. So again, they're having to live outside, they've got the commute, and along with that problem is we don't have a region-wide mass transit system, so people are having to rely on cars or carpooling. Parking is tough in the city. It's just a problem all the way around. Number 9, pollen. Oh gosh, I have allergies sometimes. They're not bad, or so I think, but I will tell you this. It does not matter what color your vehicle is. In the springtime, it's going to be yellow because we have so much pollen in the air. Sneezing, hacking, trying to keep things clean, you're going to have to forget about that as well. It's just a big thing. We've got so much greenery here. Trees, flowers, bushes, you name it. I mean, this is beautiful in the springtime, but you're safest being behind a window inside where you've got good filtration for the air that you breathe, because as soon as you step outside, you've got to be stout of lung to be able to withstand it. I might be exaggerating just a little bit, but it's bad. Number 10, my last thing, and what I think is one of the most important and also one of the toughest ones to deal with, is real estate prices in this area are high. There is such a demand for real estate. Again, this is exacerbated by the low interest rates that people got a few years ago, and now rates are up above 7%, and people just don't want to give that up. There's a fear about that. Now, there are things that can be done, and it's not as bad as you might think, because really 7% is much closer to the average over time in history than 3 and 4%. 3 and 4% is an anomaly, and I really don't think we're going to see that again. But there's still a huge demand for homes to buy that are not available. We're sitting on about, right now, as I shoot this video, about 2 months worth of inventory, which is still low, which makes it a seller's market. Things have eased off somewhat since the days of COVID, but it's still a demanding market. There is great employment in this area, and there's still people coming in because it is a good job market, but that puts a lot of pressure on what's available to buy. So, finding something that's affordable, again, you might have to move to an outlying area, or you might want to look at a townhome or something that, the single family detached, I would say, is just, the numbers are getting way up there. A lot of demand for that still, and it is what it is. Great area to live in many, many ways, but that's one of the things that makes it tough. It's just a high bar of entry. So anyway, there you have it. Those are the 10 things that I really don't like about living in this area. Don't want to give you the idea that it's terrible being here. There's a lot to recommend it, and I'll probably cover that on another video. But for today, I just want you to be aware of, if you move to here, if you decide you're going to live here, what you can run into, and just go into it with your eyes wide open.